Hello, my name is Sam. I am learning English. Today, I want to tell you about my day at the market. This is a simple story. You can read it and learn with me. It was still early in the morning when I woke up. The sun had just begun to rise, casting soft rays of light into my room. I stretched my arms above my head, yawning as I got out of bed. The soft chirping of birds outside my window made me smile. I always loved early mornings, especially when they started as peacefully as this one. I quickly brushed my teeth, washed my face, and then looked at myself in the mirror. Today was a special day. I was going to the market, and I had plans to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. I was excited because I didn't just want to buy food. I wanted to experience the market's vibrant energy, talk to the sellers, and see what new things I could discover. I put on a simple, comfortable outfit: jeans, a t-shirt, and sneakers. The weather was perfect for walking outside. It wasn't too hot, and there was a cool breeze in the air that made it feel refreshing. I grabbed my wallet, checked if I had enough money, and placed my keys in my bag. I was ready to go. Before I left, I took a moment to look out the window. The streets were still quiet, with only a few cars driving by. The neighborhood was waking up slowly, and I felt like I was the first one out of bed, enjoying the calmness of the morning. I stepped outside into the fresh air. The street was peaceful, with just the distant hum of a car engine. I could smell the faint aroma of breakfast from nearby homes. I loved how the world felt still and calm in the mornings. I walked down the familiar path that led to the market. The houses along the street were still quiet, with no sign of movement. Some people had left for work already, but most were still enjoying their breakfast or getting ready for the day. As I walked, I noticed a small cafe on the corner. The smell of freshly brewed coffee was so tempting that I almost stopped to grab a cup. But I reminded myself that the market was waiting for me. So I kept walking, the excitement building inside me as I moved closer to the busy market. I passed a few shops that were just beginning to open. The owners were sweeping the front steps or setting out their goods. I smiled and waved at a few shopkeepers I recognized, and they waved back. The market was becoming more alive with every step I took. When I arrived at the entrance to the market, I was immediately greeted by the sounds of life. The hustle and bustle of people filled the air, and I could hear the friendly shouts of sellers trying to attract customers to their stalls. There was a sense of urgency in the air, but also a sense of community. The market was the heart of the neighborhood, and everyone who came there was part of something special. The smell of fresh fruits and vegetables filled the air. The vibrant colors of the produce stood out against the muted backdrop of the market stalls. I could see bright red tomatoes, shiny green apples, and yellow bananas. There were piles of oranges, bunches of grapes, and beautiful bunches of fresh flowers. I breathed in the fresh air deeply, appreciating the scent of everything around me. I started walking down the aisles of the market, taking in the different sights and sounds. The market was busy, but in a good way. There was a sense of excitement as people shopped for their daily needs. The atmosphere was warm and friendly, and I could feel the energy of the place. I made my way toward one of the fruit stalls, where I saw a large display of apples. The apples were shining in the sunlight, their red skin looking so inviting. I knew that I wanted to buy some. I greeted the vendor, an older man with a kind smile, and asked him about the apples. "These are the best apples in the market," he said proudly. "Freshly picked this morning." I nodded and picked up a few apples, admiring their smooth skin and bright color. The vendor smiled and wrapped them up for me, carefully placing them in a small paper bag. As I paid, I asked the vendor about his day. He told me that mornings were always busy at the market, but he enjoyed the conversations with customers. It was clear that the market wasn't just about buying and selling for him. It was about connecting with people too. I thanked him for the apples and moved on, continuing my exploration of the market. Next, I headed to a vegetable stall. The vibrant green of the leafy vegetables stood out against the darker tones of the wooden crates they were stacked in. I saw carrots, potatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce. Everything was fresh and looked delicious. I chatted with the vendor, a young woman with a friendly face. She offered me some fresh spinach, and I happily accepted. I also picked out a few tomatoes and onions to add to my basket. I loved cooking, and these ingredients would be perfect for a nice, simple meal. As I paid for the vegetables, I thanked her for her help. She smiled and wished me a good day. It was such a warm and friendly environment. Everyone was so welcoming. I wandered a bit further down the market and found a spice stall. The air was thick with the rich, exotic scent of cumin, coriander, and turmeric. I was immediately drawn to it. I loved cooking with spices, and I knew I would find something special here. I asked the vendor about the different spices, and he eagerly explained the uses of each one. I picked up a small jar of turmeric and some chili powder. The vendor also gave me a sample of garam masala, a spice blend that he recommended for cooking stews. I paid for my spices and thanked him for the great recommendations. As I walked away, I felt excited to try out the new spices in my cooking. The market was full of surprises, and every stall had something new to offer. As I continued through the market, I spotted a flower stall. The colors of the flowers were breathtaking. Bright pinks, reds, and yellows that stood out against the backdrop of green leaves. I couldn't resist stopping to admire them. The vendor was an elderly woman who had a warm, welcoming smile. I asked her about the different flowers, and she explained that they were all grown locally. I picked out a small bouquet of sunflowers and daisies, perfect for brightening up my home. The woman wrapped them carefully in paper and tied them with a ribbon. I thanked her and moved on, carrying the flowers with me as I explored the rest of the market. After spending some time in the market, I realized that I had everything I needed. My basket was full of fresh fruits, vegetables, spices, and flowers. I felt satisfied, not just with the food I had purchased, but with the experience of the day. I walked back down the familiar streets toward home, my bag heavy with my purchases. The sun was higher in the sky now, and the streets were busier than they had been when I first left. The world around me felt more alive, more connected, and I was grateful for the simple joy of spending the day in the market. When I arrived home, I carefully unpacked my bags and laid out everything I had bought. I placed the apples in a bowl on the kitchen counter and arranged the vegetables in the fridge. The flowers went in a vase, brightening up the room with their vibrant colors. I felt content. The day had been simple, but it was one of those days that stayed with you. It was filled with small moments of connection, talking to the vendors, picking out fresh produce, and simply enjoying the atmosphere of the market. As I sat down for a cup of tea, I reflected on the day. It had been a small adventure, but it had reminded me of the simple joys in life. The market was more than just a place to buy food. It was a place to connect with people, to learn about the world around you, and to experience the vibrant energy of life. I looked at the apples on the counter and smiled. Today was a good day.